dönemin kaçıncı toplantısını yapıyoruz? Beşinci. Evet. Bu dönemin beşinci toplantısına hoş geldiniz. Şimdi bugüne kadar yaptığımız toplantılardan farklı bir format izleyeceğiz bu toplantımızda. Bu toplantımızda bir project launch yapacağız. I'm sorry. Sometimes I get confused. All right. So today our meeting has a very different topic. We will be launching a new project we are jointly doing with IFA NOA Institute, which is in Lisbon. Where is Lisbon?
Portugal.
Yes, good. Very educated students. So we will build a Marmaray to contact, to connect Lisbon and Istanbul, but it will be an intellectual Marmaray, not physical Marmaray, inshallah. And the topic of this project is very interesting. Önder Hoca will tell you more about the content of the project, but basically it's about practical reasoning and argumentation. And we will be using as a case study how administrators in big companies make decisions about environmental issues and how they argue to defend them. Right? So, but our focus is on the structure of argumentation, which is general, universal, interdisciplinary, but we will be using environmental issues as a case, just to get some examples from it. And I believe this is a very interesting and engaging topic. And the reason why we are presenting this to you, to get you also engaged in it. And our purpose is to recruit some graduate students, like MA and Master, MA and PhD students, who will be like seriously interested in this topic, to do their Masters and PhD thesis related with this research. Because in this research we will be collecting lots of data, and we will be making lots of readings and discussions, etc. If a student is interested, in these issues, and he wants to do like his master's or PhD, thesis on this topic, so this is a very good opportunity for him or her to educate himself, while working on this project, interacting with the top scholars who are in that field. So first, we wanted to share this happy moment with all of our students that our project has been accepted by TÜBİTAK, and also TÜBİTAK of Portuguese. I don't know the name, so it is Portuguese TÜBİTAK. So it is jointly the researchers in Portuguese, their research is sponsored there, and our research here is sponsored by TÜBİTAK, which is Turkish National Science Foundation. We are very happy that we got this funding. It is more than 300,000 Turkish liras, right? Önder Hocam? More than 300,000 Turkish liras. Yeah, it's a considerable amount of money for such research. And we are still negotiating on some budget issues with TÜBİTAK. So this is one purpose. The more important purpose is to share this idea and the project with you, so that those who are interested can contact with us, and we, and become part of the research project. And because we want to use this research project as a tool to educate our students as well. we as professors can do the research, no problem. But in the meantime, we want you to serve as like assistants, apprentices, çıraklık, you know, so that you can also learn how you carry on a project and you know, use the same data to write your master's and PhD thesis, because we did a similar research with Önder Hoca. Let me show you the book. I think it's here. I'm sorry, unfortunately, it seems I gave it out as a gift to somebody. So, Önder Hoca was a student, PhD student at Sabancı University, and myself and another professor, Bahattin Akşit, we applied to TÜBİTAK for a research project on social structure and religion in Turkey. And he and some of other PhD students at that time, you know, worked for this project, and for 3 years, and we surveyed 9 cities, right? 9 cities in Turkey about how people like relate, you know, religion to economics, politics, gender issues, science, health, etc. And eventually it is published as a book by İletişim Yayın Evi, and there was
best project. One of the best projects of the
yes, yeah, exactly. So we got this reward from TÜBİTAK. It was elected as the best project of the year, and the book was published twice. So you know, he was a student at that time, graduate student. So he gained this experience, and also, you know, we networked together. Then afterwards, because I knew him that he's a good, you know, scholar, while doing research, I offered him the job here, and I recruited him here, right? So it was a good connection, you know, which led him to come here and work with me here. And the first introduction of him to me was made by Şerif Mardin Hoca. May Allah give you long health, inshallah. So you can see that you know, these are good opportunities. So this will be like our second project with Önder Hoca. So he will tell you more about this. And as I said, we will use this project as a tool to educate our students on the same issues. That's why we have started a workshop on practical reason and argumentation. Myself, Önder Hoca and Alparslan Hoca, we are leading this workshop, and we have already recruited 2 students. One is Leonard, the other is Kadir. So they were with us on Monday morning. We decided to, like, we decided about the roadmap, how to proceed. We decided that, like, in every meeting, we will do some readings, you know, from Turkish Islamic side and also the Western side. Alparslan Hoca will tell you more about how this workshop will be conducted. I think this is enough as an introduction. If I speak more, I will be stealing from their role. So now I ask Önder Hoca to tell you more about our project. Afterwards, Alparslan Hoca will tell you more about the workshop.
Yeah, this is just a project launch, so there's no data, there's no content really, because we will start talking about them after like 6 months after we start collecting data. But now we just try to discuss the proposal, what was our research topic and the research question, the method, and our partner. We'll try to inform you about the details. But before, it's been like 2-3 years, like 2 years we applied. So the project it took a long time, and there were like 160 applications from Turkey. You should multiply it by two because same number applied from Portuguese. So just 9 projects were accepted, ours was 1, and only a social science project, by the way. This is very interesting. The name of the project is Ecological Reasoning and Decision Making in Innovation-Oriented Industry Sectors at the Periphery of Europe, reconciling divergent values and interests. By the way, in the previous research project we did together with Recep, we were focusing on religious reasoning. And now this time we are a little shifting our attention to other forms of reasoning, specifically practical reasoning. But underneath, maybe we should also discuss ecological reasoning or other kinds of reasoning, economical reasoning, other kinds of reasoning and their interaction with each other. The project is about to understand this interaction between different kinds of reasoning. The name is this, ecological reasoning, and yeah.
It's a very long name. Not easy to keep in mind.
Exactly. This is our team.
We put a long name to make it look more scholarly.
Likes this sort of place. Our partner is Nova Institute of Philosophy, and these are the names there. Let me show their web page. So this is Institute of Nova Institute of Philosophy, Nova New University of Lisbon, or Portuguese. Nova New.
Yes, so this is the first word we learn from Portuguese language. Nova is new.
And they
can progress later.
They are really specialized in this study of argumentation, discourse and argumentation, and they have a specific lab. This is called Art Lab. And argumentation lab. They say this is the second best place to study argumentation after Rutgers in the US. And by the way, this is a very new field, and the aim of this presentation is also to present you this new field, which is called argumentation, study of argumentation.
Is that how you work for this?
Argumentation.
Alparslan Hoca will talk about it. It's called Adab-ı Bahs ve Münazara. Adab-ı Bahs ve Münazara. Bahs means reasoning. Münazara means argumentation. Actually, Münazara, we will be talking about it, Münazara, literal translation means joint reasoning. Joint reasoning. Nazara, thinking, reasoning. Münazara means like doing something together, jointly. Münazara means joint reasoning, co-thinking.
We'll talk about it anyway, but this research field, although it's very new, there have been many publications, very good scholars are somehow start dealing with this issue, this interdisciplinary issue, but our hopefully our contribution will be maybe from Arabic or this Islamic classical Islamic texts and their approaches to the argumentation. And we'll see. And hope we'll study this issue for 2 years. We'll see whether we can make any contribution or not, but I have a belief. And there also, as you see, Art Lab, Reasoning and Argumentation Lab, if you know that, they are specifically dealing with practical reasoning and argumentation. And especially, and you can read this web page. They say here, when the big issues emerge, just scientific field is not enough, scientific knowledge is not enough, because there are other actors involved. Politics gets in, ethics, politics. You weigh between different options, and this needs another field to study. That's the reason they established this institute.
You can see that there is one Turkish person there.
Yeah, this guy is my friend.
And Daima Muhammed. I'm curious about he or she? She, Daima.
They will come here.
Dima. Dima. Okay. Dima, Maghrebi?
No. Syrian.
Dima. Dima. What's the meaning of Dima? Must have something. With dot or dal? Dal. Dima. Okay, good, thank you.
The and as we write, the aim is not only ecology or environment, but it's about practical reasoning and argumentation. EU-level decision-making involves a lot of practical and epistemic uncertainties. I mean, for instance, when Brussels make a decision, when they try to apply it in the local level, they get very, how do you say, complicated processes. Let's say they got when they try to apply the standards, let's say, about ecology or environment, when it comes to the local level, it's interrupted, let's say. So especially when it comes to peripheral of Europe, most of the European neighbors, wide regions. These uncertainties pave the way for institutional and cultural assumptions and values to play a significant role in decision-making processes. When they make decisions in Brussels, maybe they don't take into account the cultural and institutional variables in our own culture. So this project is more aims to focus on that level, the cultural level. And we have one theoretical goal. It is to examine the role of values in the construction of practical arguments and the study of how conflicting priorities are coordinated in different patterns of reasoning. This involves empirical testing and elaboration of existing models of practical reasoning. This is the literature, expanding the norms of argumentative reasonableness to the contextual institutional settings and taking into account the cultural as well as the semantic and pragmatic aspects of discourse. Were you able to follow this? This is very technical, but the theoretical aim is to somehow expand the findings of the analytical philosopher, let's say, to the cultural level. Because they have a lot of findings, what it means in practical, let's say, or what it means in real applications. The project aims to focus on this and try to make a contribution on that field. We need to understand what practical reasoning is here. Practical reasoning is reasoning about what to do in response to practical problems, arguing about what we should do, as opposed to theoretical reasoning, which is reasons for believing, reasons concerning what is or is not true. Best example would be rain. Will it rain tomorrow? If I ask you this question, will it rain tomorrow? This is a theoretical reasoning that immediately you look at the sky, clouds, and you make some judgments, let's say, it will rain or not. But should you buy an umbrella? This is a practical reason. So a lot of different concerns. What should we do? The minute you are in that field, then you are in the field of practical reasoning. So the issue of environment, health, a lot of issues really concerns this aspect of reasoning.
Traditionally, it is called hikmeti nazari, hikmeti ameli. Hikmeti nazari, theoretical philosophy, and hikmeti ameli, ameli, like practical philosophy. So practical philosophy has three major domains: hikmeti ameli, tedbiri medine, tedbiri menzil, tedbiri nefs, and also a fourth one, tedbiri beden. Tedbiri medine, it is politics. Tedbiri menzil, it is economics, and tedbiri nefs, it is ethics and morality, and tedbiri beden, it is medicine. So our friend Errol Fırtın, he's writing a PhD thesis on politics as tedbir, deriving from ahlaki alai, inshallah ta'ala. When we make some progress, we can make a presentation to you. Yes.
So I talk about the theoretical goal of the project, but the practical goal, by the way, TÜBİTAK project or most of the projects, if you happen to write one, there should be a practical goal. And without the practical goal, most of the projects are rejected. And this is our practical goal, let's say, that we read. It consists of critical assessment of reasoning and communication patterns and discursive strategies employed by innovation-oriented Portuguese and Turkish industrial actors concerning the transition to a low-carbon economy. Because, as I said, you want some readjustments from the actors So we are now focusing on their patterns of reasoning to adjust or not to adjust with new goals. And in other words, the project is focused on ecological reasoning of major economic and technological actors operating at the periphery of Europe. So the practical goal is indeed ecology. And it is towards ecology, ecological consciousness, to raise awareness about the issue. We write a lot of paragraphs about how important ecology is now nowadays. By the way, last year we made like 4 different sessions on ecology here, weekly talks. There were 4 professors came to our institute and they all talked about these ecological problems, and one of them, I remember, we already passed the point of no return, for instance. Because it is really disastrous when you start thinking about ecology nowadays. Maybe it's too much. I don't know, we'll discuss.
Is there a reason why you because the innovation
And those
Because if they innovate industry which does not harm nature, it's very important. Let's say there's an old machine which produces lots of carbon, and then there's a new machine which does not produce any carbon, right? So it's a better technology, but it costs more to the companies to update themselves, to adopt new technology, so cost and benefits is involved.
Yeah, our reason also is, for instance, those who are concerned with these issues, there's new big firms who are trying to adjust themselves. They are innovation. For instance, PepsiCo can be one. I don't know, because they have their factories here. They are also trying to adjust. So we'll go and talk to them. So what kind of international organization, international corporations, also local corporations.
Or a car factory, for instance. Okay, let's say Toyota Turkey, Opel Turkey, the Renault Turkey. They are like producing so many cars. So whether they are like thinking about making some innovation so that they become more environment friendly.
But we're still discussing on these issues, and they're not fixed. And we can make some changes because some more traditional firms we might include also, to compare some discourses within each country. I don't know. We are still discussing this. So the research proposed here aims to respond to the following questions in 2 countries that are different with regard to the cultural, more religious values, like different religions, let's say. And similarly, in their most pressing practical concerns like economic growth and anticipated ecological risks. We are sharing something and we are different in other things. And some questions are as follows. One is, for instance, what are the most significant matters of concern and conflict with regard to technological management of the climate system? Relationships among the natural and cultural and technical, and what are the relationships between this natural, cultural and technical? This is one of the questions. The second question, what are the most salient reasoning and argumentation patterns in the discussion and resolution of conflicts? How is the reasonableness of particular argument is achieved? Another one is, how are the ecological and technological imperatives and normativity of particular arguments and overall discourse achieved? What is the role of the shared cultural resources and religious metaphors in composition of ecological reasons? I believe, we already did some, let's say, preliminary talks with some industrial actors. A lot of like conspiracy theories, a lot of different stuff comes in when it's especially the periphery of Europe. Why they ask to adjust these standards, because they want us to be backward, for instance, one of the very nationalistic arguments, for instance. And many different arguments we can hear, and we'll try to analyze this sort of.
So, by periphery of Europe, you mean
Portuguese and Turkey.
outside?
No.
Is it Portuguese or is it Turkey also included in the
Turkey and Portuguese.
Turkey and Portuguese.
Yes,
Because we are in the periphery of Europe. They are on the western side periphery, we are on the eastern side periphery.
They keep saying Western Europe,
Greece
but they're
would be-
Western, but they're also peripheral.
Yes, if Turkey is territory of Europe, Turkey is accepted as Europe. That means
These are discussions.
at least from this, but
Yeah, Greece is also peripheral, I guess. I don't know, we can
Yes.
discuss.
Yeah, all it's a relative thing. All depends. Yeah,
But also, I mean, Portuguese links with Africa is
Yes.
also very sort of, it's almost Africa, that's how peripheral it is. So there's that connection, but it is though.
This joke, this Africans, they did not want to come using, but basically can become Portuguese.
It's closer to Europe, it's closer to Africa than it is to
We
Germany.
can
So.
just, we can have German, but really good. Anyway, the other, okay, this is a comparative research project. By comparing and refining the contemporary instruments of analysis, we mean argumentation and discourse, to examine the ethical issues underlying the technological management of climate system. We pursue systematic assessment of cultural, political, and practical aspects of patterns of reasoning employed by the major local actors in two countries. In methods, we got two, let's say, layers of it. One is institutional collaboration, the other one is coordinated research. And it's not only a research project, it's also a collaboration project. For collaboration, a series of seminars and meetings between two institutes in Lisbon and Istanbul will be conducted. They will come and we will go. This is the thing. And in each visits, there will be seminars and workshops for the graduate students in two institutes and for you. This is your part of it. This Marcin or Lewinsky and these guys will come and they will be talking about this argumentation and reasoning. And we'll be also talking about to their students when we go to Lisbon. I think this is important. And if you are, those of you who are interested, you might start reading the material. You can take my course next semester. I already gave once. One friend here took it. And those of you who are interested in this study, you're mostly welcome. Maybe we can, by the way, for this institutional collaboration, we may enlarge the project as if we can implement some parts in Istanbul University, for instance, in a bigger saloon. I don't know, it depends on the budget. When we invite these people, we may organize some events for also outside the institute. Some events for just our students and also for others. We are still discussing this. And as for the collaborative research projects, there will be 10 focus groups in each country, and they will be doing the same thing, both we and Portuguese counterparts. We'll be focusing focus groups in Denizli, Kayseri and Istanbul, 10 focus groups. They will be doing similar things, and then we will transcribe all the data and the tape records, and then we will translate everything into English, and they will be doing it the same. And then we'll put them all in the program called Atlas TI, is a data analysis program, and then we'll tag code, and they will also do the same thing, and then we'll try to compare the argumentations, the patterns. The managers and engineers of the working for carbon relevant big industries will be involved in these focus groups. And then this is a little technical, but I just put it here for you to understand what we mean by argumentation.
Yes, what is involved in
this is one man's definition. Argumentation can be defined as a verbal, social, and rational activity aimed at convincing a reasonable critique of the acceptability of a standpoint by advancing a constellation of propositions justifying, it's very technical, isn't it? Justifying or refuting the proposition expressed in the standpoint. But this means there are different standpoints. The minute, for instance, some person says this is black, if I say this is black, and the minute Ihsan says no, this is not black, it means there are more than one standpoint. Argumentation starts if I say something against Ihsan. And this research is analyzing this process. Argumentation study analyzes this when two people or more parties come together and start discussing any issue, different standpoints, and they try to convince each other with giving reasonable, let's say, arguments towards each other. This is, and as you might see, This is a very complex thing and it's very interdisciplinary. There are everything in it. For instance, in terms of when you look at subfields, you see ethics, politics, logic, rhetoric. Aristotle dealt with this in his whole lifetime. He has books for each of them: ethics, politics, rhetoric. And now I think Alparslan will talk about more about these issues. Because when we argue each other, it is more than logic only. Because there are beliefs comes in, our interests comes in, there are other concerns. For instance, if you think of deliberative democracy, for instance, like parliaments, the gist of it is always argumentation. So this is the analysis of that field.
How about marriage?
Definitely. Yeah, we find
So
ourselves
you'll be
always in
equipped
argumentation.
I mean, writing a thesis.
Is
I
it
argue.
Exactly, also it's about
I mean, I keep telling, you want to see those sentences. I argue, I argue.
Exactly. And also, this field cross-cuts the psychology. For instance, these friends, Mehmet Ali Zergün is my friend from psychology. I studied psychology in Middle East Technical University, and I know him from Middle East Technical University psychology program. And then he moved philosophy. And he's in this faculty now, Ifinova. That's from him as a psychologist, we start collaborating. And it includes psychology, political science. I did for his political science PhD after this. He did philosophy. Linguistics, sociology, and anthropology. They're all in the same research. That's all I will say.
All right, thank you very much, Önder Hoca. So this is what the project is about in a nutshell. Now, Alparslan Hoca is going to give us some brief introduction about the workshop we designed. It is linked to this project.
Yes, our workshops are also regular, weekly seminars. Maybe at the moment we are 5, but we might increase this. And if anybody wants to work for this or the PhD or for master's degree thesis, you can join us, especially if you want to work on something similar subject. Now, yes. Very good.
Do you provide extra funding for
He's from Chicago.
Immediately.
Like
on behalf of
Ece couldn't ask this question.
what we are discussing?
The purpose of this, of course, we have funding for this, so if needed, we can utilize that. But we have a higher purpose.
Yes, first of all, like when we started this institute, we designed it in such a way that all our students get assistantship. So, like the scholarship you are getting is assistantship. So that means you will be assisting, the institute in teaching, in the projects and everything. But because in the early years, we did not launch a project here. We did not ask most of our students to contribute. Now we are asking our students to contribute. So you are already getting funding for the assistantship, help, we have yet to provide. And some of our students, we have already asked them to help, like in teaching. Some of our students are like assisting in our teaching, especially PhD students. Some of our students are now serving as assistants in like Turkish teaching as language partners. So we will expand this with new projects and like other activities in organization of events, sometimes like a website, translations, etc. So like our students, from time to time contribute. So those who will assist in this project, they will not be asked to do other things because they are assisting this project. This is one thing. Second, this project provides funding for certain tasks. Let's say transliteration. So let's say if you do like a transliteration extra work, let's say over the summer, you are working for transliteration, so you will get paid for it.
So the funding will be used for that. But more importantly, we are going to extend this project to the field of science and religion, scientific reasoning and religious reasoning also. So hopefully to develop even another bigger project than this, which will extend to any reason.
Yeah. So this project, inshallah, will be the beginning of a larger, bigger project. It will be like a huge project involving almost all our students, and we are at the moment discussing to make a project on religious and scientific reasoning in the traditional and modern world. So it's like much broader, religious and non-scientific reasoning, like how different they are from each other. Are they related to each other? Do they have to conflict with each other? See what I mean? And how it was in the traditional world, like in Islam, in Europe, and then how it's today, and whether we can propose a new relationship between the two types of reasoning. This is a further project. As soon as we will settle with this project, we will start working on this bigger project.
Should I say something about this? Most of part of the project budget goes for instance, there's one postdoc scholar that will come to our institute. Maybe he will offer a course also about this issue, and most of the money goes to this personnel, and some of the postdocs, and some money goes to these travels, actually two-way travels, and also some of the works like transcription, tagging, translation, interviews, that kind of budget.
Our workshops will probably start from theoretical level, because the purpose is actually practical reasoning, but practical reasoning is based on theoretical reasoning. In fact, our everyday life is full of argumentation. Everything we do through arguments, because you need to convince someone either to give you something or you want to achieve your goal and so on. It is embedded in our nature, this argumentation. It was for the first time Aristotle who noticed this, and he tried to extract the formal structure of that reasoning and constructed a discipline out of that, which he called organon, for the first time. So he formalized it. In every day we use it in application, but he formalized it, he made a theory of it, and that is why it is called formal logic. So that is the theory of it. We'll start from this, our workshops. We tried to get some books about that. There is only one more development. This is in the 20th century. Maybe some of you already studied that, called modern logic or symbolic logic. So we don't need, extra work in these things, but we need to know the basic, structure of that, both the classical and modern logic. So because that provides us the main theory for argumentation. Once we do that, then we will start more concentrating on the practical aspect of that. Namely, in a sense, it is the what we call applied logic, actually. Applied logic. So it depends in which area you apply it, and and utilize it. You know, say in the area of science, it will be perhaps more concerned about scientific reasoning. You know, how it should be done, the methods of it, how it should be achieved, and any other problems. You know, there are more practical issues also concerning this project. I'm talking more general. You know, like interviews and go and see these people in the industries and so on. So that is not part of the workshop, of course. Probably the workshop will make up the roadmap for that. So if you want to ask any more questions, we will try to answer. I don't want to go into logic, what is logic behind all that.
Yes, actually, logic and argumentation, adab el-bahs ve münazara, the etiquette of argumentation, was part of optimum madrasa curriculum, and they were required courses. Like every student had to study logic and also etiquette of argumentation, and also rhetoric. But after we established the Turkish Republic, we thought we don't need etiquette of argumentation. So we can argue without etiquette, you know. And then this is what we have at the end, eventually, you know. But inshallah, like maybe through this project, we will produce some good books on like Islamic etiquette of argumentation, and then probably convince Minister of Education and Youth to make it part of the high school and university curriculum, so that Turks have etiquette when they argue.
Or maybe give workshops to the include members of parliament.
Yes, but you know, one of the contributions we expect to make through this project is to introduce the Islamic tradition of adab al-bahs wal munazara to the world, because this is something at the moment unknown to the world. I mean, it is unknown to Turks because they are disconnected from their tradition. How can it be known to the rest of the world? So in Arabic, by the way, the education of all these subjects in the Ottoman madrasa system all were in Arabic. Those books, you know, they are like in the libraries, and there are so many manuscripts, etc. They wait to be published. My professor Recep used to say, Muslims did not go through print revolution; they directly jumped to the digital age. So that's why you have so many like manuscripts in the libraries. They have not been published. Now you know, people go to the manuscript library and make PDF, and then they distribute PDF rather than like having published. So those books, they are still waiting to be worked on, and I believe that you know, like if we can introduce this literature to the world through English, you know, French, German, other writings, it will be a great contribution to the field, and I believe that we are more progressed, you know, in this field than like other groups, because this has been part of the Islamic education system for more than 1,000 years. You know, so there are so many works we need to like discover.
One more thing.
Yes. Yes.
Following Alparslan önce, indeed this field was mostly dominated by logicians before, let's say, 2-3 years. There are lots of philosophy departments who are focusing on directly logical structure of arguments. For many years, people were discussing this, but they were discarding some of the, let's say, argumentation tips as fallacious. They say, for instance, when they analyze the argument structure, if they see something not fit, they just see fallacy and then just block it. They don't really look into that aspect of arguments. But
So she wants to make a contribution.
And what kind of, and it would be interesting to see what particular arguments they see as fallacious. Who what kind of people are making those arguments, and whether it's racist or, there's a lot of things come into it.
Especially those who come from literature people.
Exactly.
Because they're not
Is it a
logical.
woman? Exactly. Is it a woman? Is it black? Is it comes from another field?
So this is it. We are focusing on that aspect. And this is not only those who say, no, this is fallacy, but we are trying, by introducing these values, culture, this kind of concept like religious reasoning, because these somehow dominate our lives also. And we try to focus on that aspect of reasoning, because all politics, all our lives is governed by sometimes these reasonings. So this project tries to, this is the contribution, and this will be hopefully the contribution, this will try to enlarge that.
Rather than recognizing it as a different type of reasoning, they just stamp it as fallacy. So maybe it's like religious reasoning, very different, So if you accept only one type of reasoning, which is secular, like scientific, rational, male, etc., then you exclude all other types as fallacy. So basically, this project argues that we cannot reduce to one type of reasoning. There may be different types of reasoning.
Different standpoints. By the way, this is very challenging, but the minute you start thinking of the examples, you will see how challenging it would be, it might be. For instance, what should we do, practically, against coming earthquake, for instance? Like 10 years later, there will be a huge earthquake and 100,000 people will die. And some would say, let's build pyramids with our, resources at hand. So what do we do with this kind of arguments? Did you understand how challenging it might be? And lots of arguments will come in, like scientific ones, religious ones, ecological ones. I don't know, you name it. And this interaction is the challenge of the topic.
Yes, so we can take some questions. Yes, right.
This is a great project. I hope it will be successful. The question is about the last statement made by Önder Hoca about logic and also taking into account of other social things in argumentation. Don't you think that logic, being blind to other issues, is more logical than the arguments which is based on culture or something? Or, for example, when I see the logical statements, it doesn't, just by looking at sentences, it says it is fallacious and taking into account gender or religious or something. Therefore, don't you think that this approach is more inclusive than the one which is taken into account, for example, religious stand or gender stand, and just to interpret things in terms of that?
Yeah, this is our aim. Yeah, we try to expand this field. And we don't want to leave it to accounting for logicians, that thing in terms of limited understanding of logic. We are trying to try to expand it, isn't it?
Yes, but for me, maybe it is contrary will happen, because logic is more at the surface level, at least is more, it is blind of identity, and is that not positive thing?
Don't you think that this is your own assumption?
Yes, my own assumption. If I am mistaken, no problem.
I think they are opening.
So this is going into the content of the issue. So our purpose is not, discuss the issues here. Our purpose is no, just tell me about the project and
We discussed for 2 years.
yeah, 2 years. We have 2 years
Resolve it here.
to discuss about these issues, you know, through like seminars, conferences, workshops, etc. But if you have any questions about like the research itself, how the project will work on, and how you can contribute to it, etc., then you can ask your questions. Yes.
So I'm wondering, this one, Portugal and Turkey are two very different countries in culture, and religion, in population, in geography. Like, do you say if you want to visit the factory in Van, is it still the spirit to which you? So I wonder how do you want to compare? How do you want to bring them together?
Also the language.
I would
It
actually,
will, we'll ask very similar questions indeed. Normally what we do is, and in my own previous experience, we mostly do kind of semi-structured in-depth interviews. This time we'll structure them, and there will be like, I don't know, there will be similar arguments that will be exposed to two parties, and those who are in Portuguese, those who are in Turkey, and they will be responding to the same almost arguments, let's say, against or pro. So, yeah, of course, it's very difficult.
Yeah, and they don't argue, they are the same.
Yeah.
I mean, and actually our purpose is to, you know, explore, you know, similarities and differences.
and if I may contribute, I mean, if there's a country in Europe that is most like Turkey, it would be Portugal. I mean, there are more similarities. And have you been to Portugal?
No, I haven't. But I would come.
I mean, there's so many similarities, particularly this idea, I don't know how much it would come into it, but the idea of having once been a big empire and then being reduced to this little space. This sort of post-empire nostalgia is very, very similar, and I don't know how much of the country will be visited, but Lisbon and Istanbul are comparable in so many ways. So if it's sort of kept to maybe Istanbul and sort of the central and it's kind of the little periphery of those cities, I think
By the way,
it's very similar actually.
yeah, I don't know how similar. I've been there once, but it's a very difficult question to. Anyway, our friend Mehmet Ali, Turkish guy, lives in Lisbon now, and he was very excited indeed about the project, about the comparison. So he's been there for 8 years. He learned the language, and he speaks Portuguese. So yeah, he sees there are a lot of things to compare. So he's excited, and I'm also excited. He's excited.
Yeah, comparison doesn't mean you will prove that they are similar. Sometimes you will reach the conclusion that they are very different. So I mean, they are open to both conclusions, and but most of the time,
Problems are the same actually.
yeah,
Not even similar, same problem.
yeah, same problem, same ecological problems. But then we will cover how people respond. You know, what kind of reasoning they operate. Yes.
What the impact of the research, and at the end, do you plan anything? Do you expect something will be
Practical.
government policy makings? Like, will there be anything on?
Yeah, we will go to the president and the prime minister.
Yes.
Tell them to follow our findings.
Yeah, there will be one executive summary that, like, it's very small executive summary to be sent to the EU level officials, let's say. But apart from that, we'll produce a lot of journal articles jointly.
And book.
And the book. Yeah, the whole will be,
A book and 6 articles, right?
yeah. And the work, the field work, is just for 1 year. It's a 2-year project, but 1 year will be just field work. The second year will be only writing. We'll not do anything but only analysis in the second year.
You mentioned the material we'll be working on. So what do you think what should be the best approach now, and what should we start with?
So the material we will make interviews. So like we will present certain statements to, let's say, the CEO of PepsiCo. You know, like let's say innovation is good, even if it costs lots of money, we should adopt it because it's good for nature, like the environment. So what do you think about this? See what I'm? So like he or she will say lots of things, and then we'll record it, transcribe it, and then analyze it. And then this will be translated to English and sent to the Portuguese people, and then they will send the text of their interviews to us, and we'll read all of them. Yeah, and analyze. So they will also there will be workshops. We will get together, share our findings, results of our interviews, etc. So it's a gradual progress. So we'll be discussing what we think and then how they think about what we think. Yeah.
I wonder if you do interviews with these kinds of companies like PepsiCo or let's say maybe more extreme Nestle. Of course, there's lots of greenwashing happening in these companies.
Yes,
they like to present themselves.
Yeah. And our job is to.
So how can you, make sure in your research that you don't get tricked by their
This is our job.
This is our job. If you interview them, he will say, of course, we like innovation.
No, but you are not going to believe everything they say, because we are to analyze. Maybe we will just say, they are just putting an image rather than doing it. And also, what we will look at the structure of their argumentation. So how their argumentation is structured, how convincing it is, what kind of reasoning is involved. So if the reasoning in Turkey is the same with the reasoning in Portuguese, or the reasoning of PepsiCo is the same with the Toyota, see what I mean? So these kind of issues is very interesting.
We did some interviews before, and it seems you can see first 15 minutes, the interviews is like textbook talking. People say what they know already from the textbook, but immediately they start talking about practical reasoning, why they implement or not implement. Because if you ask what they know about ecology, they say the same thing. You are right on this washing issue. But when it comes to practical implementation of these standards, then other things comes in.
Yeah, so let's say we ask them, you know about EU regulations? They say, yes, we know. Do you implement them?
What do you think?
What do you think about those regulations? Then
they start.
They will reveal their real sides.
Yeah. All right.
As far as all of us concerned about the ecological issue, I just want to make some small suggestions. Our institute just recognized about the students, the institution canteen. They're using the not plastics glasses and paper glasses, and we use the plastic glasses.
Yes.
Maybe we can replace it or do our first suggestion.
I know you said this before last week, but we didn't do any change.
See, and I would say, my own argument to say, why don't you bring your own glasses so that you don't have to use them?
Follow the example of Nagihan. Yes.
Any more questions? Discuss this. We should change ourselves first.
Yes.
Study about it.
Maybe students do not use it, but it's too
Okay, another question? No? Okay. Yeah, in the very back. This is the last question. Yes, Bukhara.
I have two simple questions. The first one is directly, specifically directed at Professor Alparslan, Açıkgenç. Whenever he talks about, science, and now we're talking about ecological reasoning and argumentations, the frame of reference always goes necessarily back to Aristotle. Why? Why he should be the prophet? There are a number of thinkers in the East, in different parts of the world, and so we need a different frame of reference. The second question related to directly related to the methodology of research future planning. since it's going to be a sort of an interview or semi-structured interview, it's a qualitative research. So by implication or by projection, the conclusion is going to be limited, case sensitive, and therefore we cannot be able to generalize. We cannot conclude about the ecological and religious reasoning in Turkey or in Lisbon, generally speaking. So how would you mitigate this problem of validity and external validity of your research?
I was able to hear the first question, but not the second one.
Second, I will answer.
Oh, you will answer. Very good. Yeah, the first one is why do we refer to Aristotle in all these frameworks? Actually, we don't. Today, the reference is because the logic that we still use is actually Aristotelian. It has not changed since he invented logic. It's developed, it developed further, but it really never changed. Why? Because that means he discovered the correct rules of reasoning. That is why. So, I mean, reasoning is reasoning. It will not change from different perspectives. But looking at the frameworks of course, science, that has changed. That has changed. And today, maybe we are using still some of the schemes developed by Aristotle, but not completely. We are not using it completely. One more reason is that even in Islamic scientific tradition, the rules of scientific reasoning that was developed independently of Aristotle, to a large extent they coalesce, they correspond to each other. They are very much similar, and that similarity is striking. That's why perhaps we repeat it from time to time. But we don't use it completely, of course. We have developed certain different strategies, frameworks in epistemology, different types of argumentations also. So we are using it. But I don't know where you got that idea that we are always referring to Aristotle. We refer to many others also actually. Not only him, but many others as well. We don't use him like a standard philosopher. He is just one of them.
But who is the beginner?